Alright, bro, check me out, So, what's going on, you guys? It's your boy 3 Stacks in this thing, baby, representing TKOG. And I had an idea, and I kind of want to make this more of a thing. I want to make it kind of like the Build-A-Board, Break-A-Boards, where it's just like a thing that can continue with whether it's seasons, episodes, or just like a numeric value like a 1, 2, and 3, and just keep going on till infinity. You guys, I want to show you guys what could be and what should be with like using custom cards to kind of depict what future support would be for certain decks. Pretty much to kind of show you guys what a deck needs and be like, hey, look, bro, in like a perfect world, if Konami actually respected every deck equally and there wasn't favoritism or special treatment, then this is what these archetypes would need. And the one I wanted to go over today was Plunder Patrol because, you know, it's one of my favorite decks. I really like it a lot. So if you guys like these kind of videos, you like this content, and you see yourself watching my channel in the future, bro, run that like, run that comment, bro, and run that freaking notification bell. And if you guys want to support your boy so we can feast up in here, join the Discord and join my Patreon if you want to get coaching and mentoring from me. I got you, bro. I got it on deck. So I actually made these cards not too long. Well, actually, I'm not gonna lie. The one that I recently made was a spell, but the link and the fusion, I made these like last year. I made these around like February of last year. So these are kind of old, but the spell I just made is new. And I decided not to keep my Earth. I made an Earth Synchro. Funny enough, they made an Earth Synchro. I just didn't make a Pendulum. And mine was like a DD Crow. Like it was like a discard a Plunder card, target a card in the grave, and, you know, banish it. Konami already released a new Plunder Earth monster that's coming out in Photon Hypernova. So I really hope they're watching this video because I think this is the direction they should go for the last card that we would... Technically, we only need one more attribute. I made 3 cards that I feel like would just break the mold for this archetype and just make it like a possible tier 2 or even higher contender where it's like it's not a joke anymore. Like this deck is just, it would, if these cards really existed, this deck would be on the map, and I feel like it would just be too hard to take it off the map, even if it's not the best deck, which Plunder's not like the best deck by any stretch of the imagination, but like, bro, oh my god, they actually made these cards, bro. Oh, this deck would be so nice with it. This deck's already nice, but like it would be so nice with it, bro. So let's do this. All right. So the first one we should talk about is gonna be the missing wind. So I did my best, bro, to like, you know, keep it in the realm of possibility. Being, I didn't just make some overpowered god card that you just automatically win the duel with. You know, with custom cards, it can get kind of crazy because you just want to give one card everything that it could possibly have in one card. You just want to give it like an Endymion, the Mighty Master kind of like text. But realistically, I think that the last wind, even if it's not Dutchman, the Cursed Plunder Patrol ship, even if that's not the name and they just take it to a different route, I think the stats should be somewhere like this or just the identical stats of Lease, but inverse. So where Lisa's defense, it could be that attack, and then his attack, it could be that defense. I don't know how they would do that, but it should be a fusion because it doesn't make sense why they would make a fusion spell and only give us one fusion monster. So I really believe that the wind is going to be a fusion, and if not, they have to make another fusion because there's no point in making one fusion monster and that fusion spell just being like pseudo generic, you know. To me, it doesn't make sense, but they could easily make the last one, the win, just be an XYZ, and that's fine too, because it would be like way easier to make out of nowhere. You just 2 level 4s, boom, it's there. So it could easily be an XYZ, but I wanted the win to be the opposite of Lease, because the last interaction that we desperately need that we don't have is a way to pretty much negate spells or traps. We have monster spot removal, we have spell trap spot removal, and we have a monster negate. It only makes sense that we would have a spell trap negate, so that way we would have a negate for monsters, a negate for spells and traps, and then a banish for both. So you have 4 ways to interact. 2 spot removals, 2 negates. I think that's way more than solid. I think that's good enough to cover any matchup. But here's the effects. So it requires 2 Plunder Patrols to make. Quick effect, oh yeah, attack 3000, defense 2000. It's a fiend, wind, level 8. Quick effect, you can special summon a plunder patrol monster from your graveyard. If your opponent activates a spell or trap or effect, you can discard a plunder patrol card, and if you do, negate the activation or effect and destroy that card. If this card was equipped with the plunder patrol card when this effect activated, you can add one plunder patrol card from your graveyard to your hand. What I did was I gave it borderline the identical effect of Lease, except I switched some things. So instead of summoning from the spell or trap zone, it summons from the graveyard. I should put hand or graveyard because Lease does that as well, so I will say we should change that. You know, I think it wouldn't be unfair to say hand or grave because Lease does the same thing except it's hand or spell or trap zone. So hand or graveyard, and then instead of discarding to negate a monster effect, you discard to negate a spell or trap. And how Lease searches a plunder patrol card from your deck to your hand, instead Dutchman would just add one from your graveyard to your hand. So instead of summoning from spell or trap zone, you summon from grave. Instead of adding from your deck, you add from grave. And instead of negating a monster, you just negate a spell or trap. That simplifies it and sums it up. I think it would be a solid card if we even got half of this, but I feel like this is exactly what it should be. This is exactly what it needs to be. There's not more that you could ask for. Not more that you have to give, and there's nothing that should be taken away because there's nothing broken about it. It's literally just Lease with slightly different value. You know, I typically value recursion more because your graveyard just kind of becomes another hand when you have cards like these. But I really, 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 really hope that Konami does exactly this. Even if it's not a fusion, even if it's not the same name, it has to have at least, bare minimum, it has to be able to negate a spell or trap. If they want to just be crazy and do something weird that doesn't even, like they sometimes release support and it doesn't even function with the deck. It's not cohesive. It doesn't even have the same kind of like context to it. Sometimes they'll just make a card and it literally just has no place in the deck because it doesn't even mesh well with everything else. But if they want to be crazy like they always are, make a card that doesn't mesh, at least give us this. Negate a spell or trap, please. That's all I want. You don't have to make it special summon from grave. It doesn't have to be like a spell or trap version of Lease, but give me a spell or trap negate. And you don't want it to add from grave, you don't want it to summon from grave, change that. But the one thing that needs to stay is give us a plunder that's a wind, and give us a plunder that negates spells and traps. So let me save this. And the next custom card that we're going to go over is going to be the Link 1. I called him Mappy. I was thinking about that. Oh, it's a TV game I used to play. That where I was like, yeah, Mappy, definitely. So it reads as thus. If this card is special summoned, you can target a Plunder Patrol monster in your graveyard, special summon that target. This card is like it turns any Plunder Patrol monster into a 1-card Blackbeard when you think about it. So like how Golden Hair already is a 1-card Blackbeard, now every Plunder is a 1-card Blackbeard. But there's more than just that when it comes to value, because like Whitebeard and Redbeard, well actually more notably Whitebeard would actually be like a full combo, dang near. Like Whitebeard by itself would be like a full combo, which is kind of nuts, and I like that a lot. So just if you just gave it just that effect alone, it would be decent. But I wanted to add something that would balance the problem that we already have with this deck's gimmick being its biggest flaw, and what it loses to more is itself because of the gimmick of like needing attributes to play efficiently. So I gave it this. During either player's turn, quick effect. You can banish this card from your field or graveyard and declare one attribute. All monsters on the field and in the graveyards become that attribute in this turn. So not only is it going to allow you to access any ship you want, regardless of whether your opponent has monsters or if they have monsters in the grave. So I gave it field or grave because I wanted it to be like turn 0, you can do this if your opponent hand traps you, and you can turn their hand trap into whatever attribute you need. So you could summon any ship you want turn 0. Or turn 1, sorry, turn 1. And then also vice versa, like for interactions on the opponent's standby, if you're playing around talents and stuff, again, they don't have monsters, you can use their graveyard as a resource. And the field just makes sense because they're, the field, it's just kind of like always been that way. Like most of the time, what your opponent controls is what's going to be what you need. Oftentimes, they don't put certain cards in the grave because they're playing around your stuff, so they'll only summon certain attributes. But like this kind of bypasses that, your opponent using your own mechanic against you. And lastly, the thing to note about Mappy is that ability to change attributes on the field and grave can be a pseudo disruption by itself. Not that it really would come up, but there's certain cards and the context of those cards require like two monsters of the same or a certain type of attribute. Like if you call something that's not dark, your opponent cannot summon dark. Like the dark charmer. If you summon access code and you make everything in the graveyard one attribute, then access code can only pop once. Like those are not the only interactions, but it's kind of nifty that Mappy would kind of be able to do more than just what it looks like on pen and paper. Like it's pretty much just like a Link Climb Extender, Link 1, that also gives you whatever attribute you need to kind of play around the gimmick. And remember, I made these cards, well this and the fusion I made before Konami released the Earth. So this was my way of saying like we need a way to play no matter what deck we're against. But the Earth Synchro that Konami released actually does let you just declare attributes and just distribute tokens. Would I say that this is necessary now? I'm not sure that it's necessary. It's more of a nice to have than a need to have. You would be fine without it, but I think it would be a great addition to just have a Link 1 with value. And this if this card's special summoned, it could easily just be converted into if this card's Link summoned, so that way it doesn't turn into like too crazy of a snowball. Because like if you flip Booty and then activate Booty and then summon Mappy and Mappy summon back, like people could look at that and say, oh, that's too unfair. But I think by today's standards, and when you compare these cards to the cards that Konami's been releasing lately and tier 1 decks that they've been releasing lately, the standards are so high and the bar set so high that stuff like this just isn't broken anymore. This is just normal stuff. It's unfortunate, but it's true. But yeah, that's Mappy. Monster Reborn and changing the attribute of cards on the field or grave to sum it up. And lastly, the card that I made recently, this was something that I also think would be really, really nice to have. I named it Heart to Starboard. It's meant to be like an emergency card. Like, it's like it's kind of like your get out of jail free card. Like, it's like I can get hand trapped 2-3 times and activate this one card and still be able to play. So it reads as thus. You special summon one Plunder Patrol monster from your hand or your graveyard. And if you do, you equip one Plunder Patrol card from your deck or your graveyard to a Plunder Patrol monster you control. I really wanted to keep the equip being not a monster or an equip spell, but a card, because that enables so many combos. Because if you didn't access Shipyard already, you can actually equip Shipyard to one of your plunders and then just link it off to like a Blackbeard, and then use Shipyard's Graveyard effect after you trigger Blackbeard, and then you have Shipyard, now you can search. So this card indirectly is like another terraforming. You just have to be able to summon from your hand or graveyard first, then you can equip Shipyard if you need to. But being able to equip any Plunder Patrol card is kind of neat, because the new Synchro that Konami is releasing can add any Plunder card from grave to hand. So whatever you equip, once it touches grave, it can be added back off that. So you can equip Booty, add Booty off the Synchro. You can equip Field Spell, add Field Spell off its own itself. You can just equip Emblem and just have an untargetable, beefy monster. And then the other thing too is it being a quick play is a big deal, because this allows you to play through disruptions on your turn and your opponent's turn, and you can revive your own ships, and you can equip anything to that. This also enables more extension with cards like Lease and also Black Eyes, because whatever you equip can also just be summoned from your spell trap zone off effects like that. It's just really, really nifty. I like it a lot. I think there's nothing wrong with this. I really don't see this being too much, and again, I wanted to keep it balanced. The last effect of the card is something that I really would be okay with not having, but I gave it a graveyard effect, kind of like how Shipping has. This you can banish this card from your graveyard cost. This turn, your opponent cannot target Plunder Patrol cards you control with card effects. So it's like a targeting-esque of protection for that turn. So you can just activate it, play through disruptions, and then get yourself some protection. So if certain disruptions your opponent has targets, you can blanket those early before you start summoning more ships and more plunders. You know, this could be one of the first cards you activate and immediately give yourself that protection the whole turn. So now Imperms and Veilers are going to lose their value because they pretty much have to use it right then and there. But think about it, like when you activate this first, whatever you summon might not even have an effect that needs to be negated. So you're just pretty much cutting off all those targeting effects for that turn. But most importantly, I just care that Konami would make this and give it this. Special Plunder Patrol from your hand or grave, and then equip a Plunder Patrol card from your deck or graveyard to a Plunder Patrol monster you control. Not the one you summoned, just one that you control. That is really important to me. I feel like that is what would make this a good card. If you had to equip directly to the monster you summoned, this card would only truly be like a one card enabler if you summoned a ship and just re-equip the ship. But I like that you can just have this and just equip to whatever you need at any time and still be like a quick play monster reborn. And then you can only activate this card once per turn. The Link ones once per turn, the Fusions once per turn. Pretty much all Plunder's cards are once per turn, except for I think Ship Shipping's actual activation is not once per turn. But yeah, you guys, that is it for all the new Plunder cards. I really, really, really hope Konami makes these cards. Like, for real, it would be a dream come true if they made these exact cards. I wouldn't say, like, I know some people would go here and make custom cards and be like, oh, bruh, I don't know, that ain't it. I'm going to make something better. I'm going to make something more broken, and I'm going to make, like, stuff that the deck doesn't need. But I just feel like an extender like this and this, these two extenders would make this deck, like, I feel like it'd be tier 2 quality. It would just be able to play through so much. And then just having a Spell Trap Negate and a Wind are the two, this card, like right here, Dutchman is literally the two things that we really are missing for real. Like, we have extenders, you know, and when the new Synchro comes out, we have a way to somewhat cheat out whatever attribute we need. So these are like nice to haves, whereas Dutchman, I feel, is just a need to have. So if anything is going to happen, this has to happen. We need a Wind and we need a Spell Trap Negate, period. Like, I get this deck can summon Dragite, but we need an actual Plunder Spell Trap Negate. And then these cards would be really incredible. Like, if these all came out, this deck would be so good. It would never be able to be disrespected. So, thank you guys so much for watching this video. God bless you, making choices. Don't hurt your brain cells, bruh. Stay tuned for future content, and deuces as well, baby.